So please introduce yourself and your title and how long you've been an A's fan.
So my name is Casey Pratt. I covered the A's from 2006 until about a couple months ago, but I grew up at the Coliseum. I've been going to the Coliseum since I was a baby, so I was born and raised an A's fan.
Real. And tell me about your role at ABC, right?
Yeah, so I was at ABC before. What's interesting is I ran our sports department and I anchored sports and I did a lot of reporting, but most of what I did on the A's I kind of did as a passion project on the side. And when big news was happening, I would tell ABC and they would have me be the lead story in all the shows. But for the most part, I did a lot of it just kind of on my own time because I'd followed it all anyways very closely. And this saga has dragged on for, let's just say, decades. Yeah.
You're kind of like the primary source of news for a lot of people. How does that make you feel, and how important do you think it is that people have news and journalism covering this team in particular?
So for me, my passion was making sure that everyone was held accountable. I'd been following this closely and covering it for a long time, but where it really went into overdrive was when the A's announced that they were discussing a parallel path to Las Vegas. And I realized at that point that not enough people were paying attention to all the details going on. And I didn't want to see a beloved sports franchise and a community of fans lose their team full not knowing what exactly was going on. So that was my mission, to make sure everybody, politicians, team owners, everybody with the team was held accountable. And I just started telling everyone's story. What was interesting, pause for train, was that at first I really had to go at people, harass people, try to dig for information. But the more it went on, people just started coming to me. And that's where things got really interesting from a journalism standpoint. Anything happening, if I hadn't unearthed it already, people would start sending me messages about it, or people would want me to know about it, or people would want their side out there. And it became a situation where nobody wanted the smoke, so they'd rather just tell me what was going on and avoid it. And so it just became a whole thing that opened a lot of doors.
And I feel like something I've been curious about is the kind of media representation of Oakland and its influence on this decision to relocate. To what extent do you think that plays a role?
I mean, I guess it depends what you mean by media representation, but
kind of like the Oakland is a dying city, it's crime-ridden, that whole kind of right-winged sort of lens on the city.
I mean, we're standing right here on a public Oakland street, right? And I could look to my right and I could look to my left, but I'll keep looking at the lens for the sake of this interview. I don't feel in danger in any way, and I'm sure you don't either. Oakland is not a war zone. You can't believe what you hear on social media. It's not the case. Sure, every city, every major city has challenges. We're not diminishing the life of experiences of people that have challenges, but it's not as bad as people say it is online. The internet is not real life. We have to remind people that all the time.
Yeah. So today and tomorrow is like the last of the Bay games. Last of the turf war. What can we make about this turf war and kind of the role that it's played in this decision as well? Because I know that at least Damien in there largely blames the Giants and the kind of territory war for that decision as well.
So I could take this many ways. Let me first say, as an A's fan, somebody that grew up on the East Bay, somebody that grew up representing green and gold, the A's swept the Giants in 1989 in the World Series, and that is literally all that matters when it comes to the Battle of the Bay. It doesn't matter what happens in the regular season. When there was a World Series and the A's were on top and the Giants were on top of the respective leagues, the A's swept the San Francisco Giants. So that is our one and only thing, that if you grew up in the East Bay, you can win literally every argument based on that one fact alone. Now, as far as the Giants are concerned, there is an issue because the Giants have San Francisco. They have the territorial rights to San Jose. The Giants were considering leaving for St. Petersburg, Florida. The A's owners at the time wanted to see what was best for the Bay Area. They wanted the Giants to stay. Sure, they were rivals, but they didn't want to see a pro sports franchise leave, so they gave the territorial rights to San Jose away for free to the Giants so that they could build a ballpark there. The Giants never built a ballpark there, and then they kept the territorial rights. So when the A's tried to move to San Jose, the Giants said, no, you can't do that. We own those rights. The rights that the A's had given them for free in the first place. So the Giants have had a hand in this inevitable departure of the A's. Now, is this going to be the last Battle of the Bay today? I'm not entirely sure. A lot of people are very upset about this. They're feeling some certain sort of way. I'm numb to it because I'm not convinced yet that this will be the last Battle of the Bay. That may be a controversial thought, but until a shovel is in the ground in Las Vegas, until they have a financing plan for Las Vegas, then I could still see a path back to Oakland. I could see it happening because right now they're going to go to Sacramento for a few years until their Vegas ballpark is built, if it ever gets built. I don't think Sacramento is a tenable situation for Major League Baseball. I think that Sacramento is a beautiful ballpark. Hold on. Let me just say this before people get too mad. Sacramento is a beautiful ballpark, a great pro sports market, but you can't have a Major League team come in to a minor league park on AstroTurf. Sacramento is the sunniest place on earth between June and September. You can look that up. It's going to be a very big problem when they're playing on artificial turf there, and I don't think Major League Baseball is going to like it. It's one thing for the A's to go there. It's a whole other thing for the Yankees and Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani with the Dodgers to come into Sacramento and play in a minor league park on artificial turf, which gets 30 to 40 degrees hotter than the ambient temperature. You're going to dive and burn yourself. Your shoes will melt. Major League Baseball is going to see that, and I don't think they're going to keep that as a permanent solution. If Vegas falls through, it's going to be Oakland, it's going to be Sacramento, it's going to be a bidding war, and there's a lot of rich people in this region. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that would buy the A's and keep them in Oakland.
Yeah, I've really loved the optimism I've been hearing today, and
yeah.
You know, just in the past talking to people. I think that's really important. You obviously interact with the community a lot. What attitudes are you picking up on the most? Is it mostly disgruntled people? Is it mostly optimism? Is it a little bit of both?
I mean, if we're talking about the future of the A's, I don't think there's a ton of optimism, and I don't think there should be. What I'm saying is I could see a path, but it's not a great one. I actually do think they will end up in Las Vegas. But that being said, I think what you're seeing is people realizing that if you own a team and you're trying to do a multi-billion-dollar development, and you're looking everywhere but your own wallet for how you're going to pay for that development, then you're going to have a lot of trouble getting it done. And that's exactly what happened here. The city stepped up. The city provided a lot of avenues for the A's to stay here. They got a bunch of grant money. They had tax districts. They had funds situated for them to stay. The A's didn't want to pay for it. If you're trying to build something huge and you're expecting the government to build it for you, it's either going to take forever or it's not going to get done. If Joe Lacob, the Warriors owner, bought the A's, he said himself, he would have paid for it all himself. And if you do that, it gets done quick. Just look at the Ballers, Raimondi Park, West Oakland. They got a ballpark built there. Not a huge one, but they got it built in 2 months because they paid for it themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of the city, can you talk about your new role a little bit?
Maybe a little.
Okay.
It depends.
Don't want to land you in hot water.
Yeah.
So yeah, just maybe introduce what your new role is and kind of maybe how that's changed your advocacy and journalism role.
Yeah, so I was a journalist my entire career. I covered the A's my whole life. My first press pass was in 2005, so that was a long time ago. I've switched roles since then. I am now the chief of communications for the Oakland mayor, so I'm taking up a whole different form of work than I've done before. So as a journalist, you're on one side of it. As a communications person, you're on the other. So it's a whole new ball game, but it's very similar in a lot of ways because you're still dealing with the exact same people. And I think that what's interesting is, sadly, the story of sports in Oakland became a political story, right? Like the Raiders left, the Warriors left, the A's left. They all left for very different reasons, but Oakland sports became a story of politics, and that got me in a realm where I started learning and speaking with and dealing with a lot of politicians. And so, yeah, doing this job isn't terribly different in a lot of ways because Oakland sports became a political story. Yeah.
Any final message for fans or the owners or anyone who might see this?
I mean, I just think that there's a few things I'd like to point out, and I think this is important. The reverse boycott on June 13th, a ton of A's fans got together in the parking lot. They went into the ballpark. There was no drama, there was no fights, there was no issues. Despite it being a very hard situation for a lot of people, they showed up and they showed out, and the A's won, and it was an absolutely magical day that documentaries will literally be made about that moment. Opening day this year, the fans decided not to go inside. They stayed in the parking lot. Can you picture thousands of fans showing up to an event, drinking, barbecuing, hanging out, mad at Major League Baseball, mad at the situation they were in? Zero fights, zero police intervention, zero paramedic intervention. A's fans in this Oakland sports community is full of the best people imaginable, and they prove it time and time again, and they do not deserve the treatment they have been given by these billionaire owners, and I will say that over and over and over again until I'm blue in the face.
Yeah. So for the last game, you don't see it turning into a crazy riot, do you?
So the Raiders just went through this, right? They just moved to Las Vegas. They played their last game. A lot of stuff was thrown on the field. I don't see it turning into a crazy riot. These are all really good people that just love their pro sports. And they love their community, and they love to be together, and they love to be happy. And, you know, I guess the last thing I will say is I've spoken to the grounds crew a lot at the Oakland Coliseum. And when you throw things on the field, who do you think cleans it up? You think John Fisher is going to come clean up all the crap you throw on the field? The answer is no. It's the grounds crew, the same people that have maintained that field for decades, kept that grass beautiful, the same people that are also losing their jobs. They're just as upset as you are. Don't throw things on the field. Don't make it so that they have to clean up this mess. The only person that needs to clean up this mess is the owner of the A's, and he sure as hell ain't going to be out there picking up the trash. So don't do it.